Hi, this is Roberto Quezada, and I'm here with Walter at the screening of Phantasm, remastered at the Colonial Theater in Phoenixville. And I just wanted to let Walter know that I'm a big fan of Walter.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's Walter. Yes, it's Walter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Walter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of Walter.
All right, everyone, this is Walter from Walter, and I actually got Roberto Quezada, who had made the film years ago, and actually most of the films of Phantasm. He was nice enough to actually let me call him and do an interview. I just had a couple questions because the remastered version from J.J. Abrams actually did come out. A friend of mine actually did see it, I think on cable. It might have been Sci-Fi or something that actually showed the J.J. Abrams remastered version. I have him live on the phone right now, so I want to just introduce Roberto Quezada. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
It's my pleasure, Walter. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. God, I'm so nervous. I've been trying to do this for a while. I mean, you're actually the first quote-unquote celebrity that I've actually been able to interview. So this is, I really appreciate you doing this.
Well, I've been called a lot of names, but never a celebrity.
No, I would definitely, because, you kind of got me interested. I actually wanted to, if I can remember, it was a couple weeks ago, I actually met you at the Phoenixville Colonial Theater, and you actually had a lot of interest and information because you're a film director, right? Or a film producer, if I remember.
Well, I ended up my career as a producer, yes. And, I still dabble in it. So I guess you can't say I'm really retired. But, I started out as a gaffer.
Okay.
And cinematographer. And then for Dawn, I became a second unit director of photography, and a producer. Yeah. So I've had a lot of hats.
Well, you started, I've looked at it correctly, I guess you started around the age of 18 after you graduated from Santa Clara University. Well, that's where you started.
Yeah, early 20s, yeah.
Oh, okay, early. That's great. You're still young, though, because you're only a few years older than me, so you got a lot under your belt, stuff I would love to do. So that is really cool. I remember you went into a lot of information. Obviously, you're known for a lot of films, as I recognize some of them. Phantasm is actually one that most people recognize. The other one that sticks out was actually, I was surprised, was the Beastmaster. I didn't realize that. Phantasm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was a production supervisor on that one.
Okay. That's really cool. You kind of worked your way through the ranks, I guess, so to speak, to do these certain films. I actually did check out, by the way, the one, it is like, that one they mentioned at Phoenixville, the one about the microwave massacre. I did rent that. So, yeah.
I was a gaffer on that one.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, because I saw your name in the credits on that one, by the way, too. So that was really cool. Phantasm, honestly, is the one I've actually watched pretty much all of them, honestly. I think I've even seen the last few in the theater, but now there's a new one coming out. God, I don't even know where to go with questions with you, but I guess one, because you actually kind of intrigued me when I saw you at the Colonial Theater, basically because you explained what it is to be even a film producer. Like you're responsible for at least a lot of your films, but Phantasm, you actually set up, I guess, the locations, the kind of film you used. Yeah,
the way that Don and I just kind of fell into working together was that I started out I was hired as the second assistant cameraman.
Yeah.
Which meant that I was basically loading film and stuff. But the gap was put after the first couple of days.
Yeah.
And I happened to be wearing a light meter, and so people assumed I knew what I was doing with it. And so I was moved into the slot of lighting the first Phantasm. But I was living with Don and Paul. We lived together in this big house with Dina Ross as well.
Yeah.
And so the four of us were always we were always talking about what we were going to be shooting the following weekend. The whole movie was shot just on weekends.
I remember you.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I remember you saying that, though. It's kind of like interesting. Is I've always actually wanted to get in the film, and it was like, wow, you actually made a whole film over the weekends, and you kind of lived.
Well, because no one was getting paid, so
Yeah.
other people had jobs or things that they had to be doing during the week, going to school or whatever.
Okay.
It was my full-time thing, though, and I guess I had just saved up to be able to do that. And then, I wasn't paying rent or anything like that. Lived at this house with Don and Paul.
Oh, okay.
So we would discuss what we were going to shoot, and so it would come up. Oh, well, we want to do this. We need to shoot the cemetery gates. So I would say, oh, I know where there's some good gates, And so before I knew it, I was finding all the locations for the movie, and Don and I had very similar tastes. So he just would send me out. And a lot of the locations, I already knew where they were. I didn't really have to find them. Okay. And they wound up being, I wound up shooting a lot of Phantasm, which are within 10 miles of where I went to high school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So the cemetery gate, I don't know, for people that, well, I'm in California right now, but I forgot that I'm speaking with people from the East Coast. But those are up at the top of a road called Lake Avenue.
Okay.
In Altadena. Also, Reggie's Ice Cream Parlor was down there. The Alien Planet, that Red Planet, that's Pudding Stone Dam.
Oh, okay.
That's out towards Covina in California, kind of where Al Pacino's dad had a bar out there.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, that scene was really neat.
So a lot of the, so I had a lot to do with the look of the movie.
Well,
and so consequently, my title on Phantasm 1 was actually visual consultant. A lot of the effects, like say the Spacegate room was where the Spacegate is, the two chrome pillars, I guess. Things like that I designed. So that was on the first film. By the time we did Phantasm 2, I had already produced a few commercials.
Okay.
And Paul Peppermint had gotten out of the business. Beastmaster was a particularly grueling film.
Okay.
Not very rewarding. We're pleased with the results, but it was tough. Paul was ready to move on, so Don needed a producer, and so since I'd been I was production supervisor.
Okay.
On Beastmaster, I was able to move into producing. I'm sorry. Prior to doing Phantasm 2, though, we did a movie called Survival Quest.
Oh, yes,
I see it.
That was
my first movie as producer.
Okay, yeah, I see it. In 1989, you did Survivor Quest. So,
Survival Quest,
yeah.
A really good movie, not a horror film.
Okay.
And it's something that, I just was able to do really well with Don. I worked well with him.
Okay. Now,
and I pretty much had lost interest in working with anyone else by then.
Okay.
So.
Well, you've actually worked on pretty much. Oh, whoops! We lost him for a moment, so I'm going to try to call him back, folks. But that was so far Roberto Quezada. Alrighty, folks.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
So, anyways, can we just? Will you be able to edit all this? Or
Yeah, it should fit together pretty good because we're just picking up.
Okay, so I was saying that I working with Don. By then, I was producing something that I did well with him, and by then I pretty much lost interest in working with anyone else.
Okay,
it just wasn't fun to work with anyone else. Anyway, so as a producer on Phantasm II, I did a lot of the things that I also did on Beastmaster, right? I hired the crew. I found the crew.
Okay.
Hired them, interviewed them, or worked with people that I knew, Then once we got started, as I did with Beastmaster, Don would put me in charge of writing herd on the people doing, building things for us.
Okay.
Things like that. Usually it was like the silver balls or, gadgets like that. Makeup and all that. Don worked pretty closely with the makeup artist, Mark Shostrom, people like that. But the mechanical effects of that, Don would kind of not leave to me to figure out. By Phantasm II, we were hiring professionals that brought a lot of ideas to the table.
Okay.
That then Don would then finesse with them. But then it was just up to me to make sure that they got everything done on time. So.
Well,
I was in charge of the finances. I was in charge of making sure that we stayed on budget, what we were spending things on. I did all the negotiating. A lot of negotiating goes on when you're making a movie at that level.
Oh, yeah.
Phantasm II had a few $1 million to play with.
Yeah.
So that's a full-time job, just making sure that money is being used for its optimum effect. So Phantasm II is a movie that we're very proud of.
Oh yeah, I mean I love them. They were very good. They're very scary. Visually, they're really good too. I mean, because you're being a film, I guess. What did I say? A film producer. You're in charge of the visual, obviously, how it looks, how it's going to come out.
Yeah.
And the budget.
Because as a producer, the way Don and I just fell into working together, I always find his location.
Okay.
And then doesn't mean, I then show them to him and, he'll reject them if they don't work. And then I have to go back to the drawing board and find something else.
Yeah.
But that is just something that I really enjoy doing.
Okay.
And he really trusts me with that. The other thing that I did on Phantasm II, though, besides finding the locations and produce the film, I was a second unit director of photography director, which means that, Don would set up how he wanted a special effects shot done.
Okay.
And then, he and I communicate really well together.
Yeah.
And he could go off and work with actors and leave me with the special effects people to do things like Phantasm II, let's say when the priest gets his ear sliced off. When you've got the silver ball hitting the guy's hand and driving it into the wall.
I remember
things like that.
Yeah.
That required most of those we did by running the camera backwards.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and it's very time consuming to try to get that to look eerie enough.
Oh, it did.
But Don would leave. We do it. Sometimes I'd get it all set up and ready to go, and Don would want to be there to make sure it was exactly what it was that he wanted.
Yeah.
Or other times, if he was busy with because what's happening, what he's doing while I'm doing that, he's directing actors. He's doing scenes with actors.
Yeah.
I'm doing scenes with secondary actors or with special effects people.
Yeah.
Then he would look at the dailies, and if it wasn't to his liking, then we would reshoot it the next day, and he'd be present for that. Then,
okay.
So it was just so most films are made that way. You've got scenes that are shot by a second unit director.
Oh, okay.
And the second unit director of photography. Since I was a director of photography in a previous life, I would do both. I would do the second photography as well. A lot of the things where the food is driving around the countryside.
Yeah.
That would be me with a couple of other guys with the camera. Although most of the really beautiful ones were done by Darren Okada.
Okay.
Who's a brilliant cinematographer. And Phantasm II would have been his second movie. His first one being Survival Quest.
Okay.
As a director of photography. So Darren is an old friend of mine.
Yeah.
That I got into the business in Phantasm I. He was 17 years old.
Wow.
And he was a grip on that film.
Yeah.
But by the time we did Survival Quest, that was a few years later. He'd already actually shot a few little low budget things. These were the first big movies that he got to shoot from.
Okay.
And old Darren, he did well for himself. He wound up. He was the president of the American Society of Cinematographers. If you ever see the letters ASC behind the cinematographer's names when the titles come up,
yeah.
That's the American Society of Cinematographers.
Oh,
all your best cinematographers are in that group. And he was the president of that organization for a good 5 years.
Wow, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah, so I knew him when.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's cool. I mean, you networked with a lot of. I'm trying to think like the right word. Important people, like really good people that yourself included have gone on and done many things, many films. Mainly the ones Phantasm, but other ones too. I'm actually.
I worked. I was also. I was the second. I was the first assistant director. So I was the assistant director on a movie called Pastime, which then went on to get the Audience Award at Sundance.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. That was 1990, but yeah, okay. That went on to. You said Sundance?
Yeah, they got the award at Sundance for Best Film.
Okay, yeah, Sundance,
so,
yeah.
Movie I'm very proud of. Worked with a really great cinematographer on that one called Tom Richmond.
Okay.
He's done a lot of great films. He did Little Odessa. He photographed that. He did. What was that movie? It's called Silent Night, Holy Night.
Okay. I know that one.
It was a war film where a night where the Germans and the Americans on a Christmas Eve they have a truce. It's a really beautiful film.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah. So I did a few films that weren't horror films.
Well, I
worked with Agnes Barda, a French new wave director.
Wow.
I lit a film for her.
Okay.
In Venice Beach. Yeah.
Wow.
But by and large, I pretty much only really like working with Todd Coscarelli. I mean, it's a wonderful relationship with him. They're good friends.
Well, that part sounds cool. I have a question almost. Like, I see a film here called The Gifted. Now, there is a movie called The Gift, but that's different from your film, obviously.
The Gifted was a film by a really dear friend of mine named Larry Simeon.
Okay.
And Larry, I'll tell you, Larry is someone that very inspiring guy. He's passed away. He passed away from polio.
Oh.
A few years ago.
Okay.
But this is a guy that had polio. It was misdiagnosed when he was an infant.
Okay.
They thought it was cancer. So this is a guy who had terrible developmental issues, limp, but had an incredible energy, incredible spirit. And when most people would be sitting around complaining that only rich kids get to be directors.
Yeah.
You never, or you never get the breaks and the system is rigged, this and the other. Larry didn't come from money. Larry just had a brilliant mechanical mind.
Okay.
And Larry just decided at a young age that he wanted to be a director. And that's exactly what he did. He directed 5 movies that are all playing, on TV late at night now.
Yeah.
And The Gifted was the last film that he directed. This is what nobody knew was that all these people that had the miracle cure for polio when they were young.
Yeah.
What this generation of people found out the hard way was that polio comes back.
Oh.
So in spite of the fact that he was already really suffering from the end of polio, he pulled this film off. And, it was an amazing human being.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And anyone that's ever directed a movie knows how much energy it takes. It's intense.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
and Larry did it.
Yeah, because I saw that on the list. I was curious about that film. I'm going to have to definitely look into that. It says 1999, I think, or 19...
Yeah, that would have been the last movie that I did before I got out of the business for a few years.
Well, actually,
now prior to that, I did do a movie called The Unseen, and that would be the movie on which I had the highest budget.
Okay, I see. 1980, yeah. Done.
Yeah, that's with Barbara Bach and
okay,
Stephen First were in that, and that was a pretty good movie. They just got a bad break in the distribution.
Okay.
I never got to really. We finished shooting it, but we never. There was a step that you have to take after you shoot a film. It's called colorizing.
Oh,
and that's where you go back and you make sure that all the scenes match, and you get the colors just right. So, but there's a lot of battles going on between the producers on that film.
Okay, well that looks
who owned it legally and all this. So it never got properly colorized.
Okay,
but it's out there. It's called The Unseen. It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it says slasher thriller, 1 hour and 34 minutes, and it was a $2 million budget according to what it says online. So.
Yeah, but of that $2 million, they gave most of that money to me, and it was great.
Oh yeah, well that means you got more to work with. Obviously.
I don't mean they paid me. I mean they gave me the money
to work
for lighting.
Yeah,
I pretty much could have any light I wanted, any crew member I wanted. My crew on that, my camera crew, was the same crew that worked on Apollo 13.
Oh,
I had the camera operator.
Yeah.
The first assistant cameraman and the second assistant cameraman were the Apollo 13 crew.
That is really intriguing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It may have only been a $2 million budget, but as far as the camera department was concerned, it was an unlimited budget.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing I've noticed. The films that are like nowadays that are higher budget, they really have, in my opinion, they don't have like no substance to them. Like they don't really, you give somebody too much money, that is a lot of money, but you spend it obviously, and made a really good film. I mean, there's films that are higher budget and they're not that good. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's where producer comes in terms of determining how much you're going to spend on a movie, and you can err on the other side too. I mean, with Survival Quest, that's a movie that's a funny story in that movie. The thing with that movie is that I don't know how much you know about Quentin Tarantino.
Oh yeah, I know Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I know his stuff.
Yeah, but he came from a group of friends that they didn't go to film school.
Yes.
Roger Avery did, but the rest of them did.
Yeah.
And they got their education working at a video store. I guess you've heard that.
Yeah, that's his thing. Yeah. Well,
all those guys that Quentin went to work at the video store with.
Yeah.
Did Survival Quest.
Oh.
I met Quentin and Roger working on a Dolph Lundgren exercise video. They were PAs on it.
Okay.
And I came back and I told Donnie, you're not going to believe these two production assistants because you've never seen two harder working guys in your life,
Well, that's...
And when they found out that I had done Phantasm, they are huge Phantasm fans.
Well...
And so they wanted to meet Don and all that. So they were busy and couldn't work on Survival Quest, but they got all their friends that were also Phantasm fans to work on Survival Quest, for free.
Well, that part's cool.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, he basically got paid, but it was it was pretty, and then Quentin and Roger would be visiting the set all the time. And it was nice. That's before Quentin had done Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
So
that's just like, yeah.
And then to pay him back, Quentin was doing his first film. It's a black and white film that he says no one will ever see because I guess a lot of the footage was lost in a fire.
Oh.
It happened. But I worked for, he has quite a few cinematographers on that film, but I was one of them.
Okay.
I did a couple of weeks for him on that.
Oh.
So again, this is before Reservoir Dogs, and it's the movie he called, I think it was something about my best friend's birthday or something like that.
No, I'll have to
forget
look.
the title.
Okay.
It's in the IMDb though.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Well, actually, you know what's funny, because you mentioned Quentin Tarantino. I like who he works with sometimes in films, which is Robert Rodriguez, if I'm correct. I think it's...
Well, yes.
Yeah.
They collaborate a lot at the creative level.
Yeah.
And Sunrise to Sunset, Quentin, that was a script that Quentin wrote and used to pay a makeup artist that did some work on another movie for him.
Okay.
He couldn't afford to pay him, so he paid him by giving him that script.
Oh.
Then Robert Rodriguez got wind of it and had to buy it off the makeup artist.
Oh, yeah, because I like a lot of... I mean, I know they can collaborate, like you said, together a lot, but I kind of like his films that he's done.
Yeah. But I think that since then, Robert has done... he's written all his own films.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I believe that Rodriguez is... he owns a theater in Texas.
Oh. Well, I didn't know that.
Which is where they premiered. That's where the actual Phantasm One remastered premiered, and then that's where they did the Q&A, which was then simulcast that you and I saw.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was because that
was screened at Robert Rodriguez's theater in what do you call it? Not Dallas, in Austin.
Okay, yeah, because that's where the other people were who worked on the film with you. Were at that other location, that one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Let me just check them.
Sure. Folks, that's...
Can we interrupt for 1 second and I'll get right back to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, just give me 5 minutes. I'll call you back.
Okay, that's cool. Okay.
Not even 5. 2 minutes.
Sounds good. I'll keep my ears open. Okay. Talk to you in a few minutes, folks. That is Roberto. How do I say your last name again? I'm so bad with that.
What? No, getting back to Quentin Tarantino was that Roger Avery co-wrote Pulp Fiction with Quentin, got the Academy Award with Quentin.
Okay.
So, but he remained really good friends with Don, and actually, you probably heard it in that Q&A.
Yeah.
That he wrote a really terrific. Actually, no, that might have been the Q&A I did with Don the following week. I was with Don in New York for the premiere of Ravager, Phantasm V.
Yeah,
and I did the Q&A with him there, and in that one he explained that Roger had written a really great Phantasm II, but when you get the Academy Award.
Yeah,
you get interviewed out. Everybody goes right out there, and you get interviewed by all the newspapers, right?
Yeah.
And so they asked him, well, what's your next project? You just got the Oscar for Pulp Fiction. What do you want to do next? And Roger says, "Oh, I'm writing the script to Phantasm II."
Wow.
Yeah, something that he's been wanting to do all his life. He said ever since he saw Phantasm I. So he wrote a kick-ass Phantasm II.
Yeah.
However,
yeah,
it would have cost. If you made that today, it's $100 million movie.
Of course, yeah.
But, it was just, it's wonderful, but it so that they just had a hard time getting the funding for that one.
Well, that's the thing. When you mentioned that, Roberto, that's the thing. I thought you said, now might be true for all your film work, but at least with even Phantasm 1, when J.J. Abrams asked you to restore it, he was able to because you used really high-quality film, I think you said. And I was kind of curious about that. I wasn't sure how film worked, and it's ASA or no, I forget what you said.
Well, the film that we were using was pretty new. Prior to that film,
you
needed much bigger light.
Okay,
because the ASA was only 64.
Yeah,
this was a film that had just come out that we were fortunate enough to, it was my very first movie ever, so I don't know any different.
Okay,
but we were able to do it with smaller unit light. This was around the time when independent films just became very much more handheld and really shooting from the hip and stuff because of these faster films.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing was that since we were only shooting on weekends, we were able to rent a Panaflex camera, which is the state-of-the-art camera to this day. If you're shooting a film on film, a Panaflex is the finest camera with the finest lenses that you can get.
Okay.
All right.
Probably.
So the only reason Stanley Kubrick, for instance, didn't work with a Panaflex was because the cinematographer that he used.
Oh.
Actually, no, I take it back. It was him. Stanley Kubrick would only. Stanley Kubrick had lots of different ways of making money. One of which was he rented all the equipment through the production that was making his movie.
Yeah.
Now, a Panaflex cannot be owned. It can only be rented.
Okay.
But an Aeroflex can be owned. Anyone that has enough money can buy an Aeroflex. So Kubrick would use an Aeroflex because he owned it and he could rent it back to the production company.
Okay. Yeah.
So we didn't have that that hang up. So we could, not that I'm comparing ourselves to Kubrick, it just happens that Kubrick is Don Coscarelli and my favorite director of all time.
It's Stanley Kubrick.
And we always, now, I know I'm kind of getting all those, I'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
When we did Beastmaster, Don and Paul hired John Alcott to shoot Beastmaster. Beastmaster is a gorgeous movie.
Okay.
It is shot by none other than Stanley Kubrick, cinematographer.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
The guy that shot Beastmaster also got an Academy Award for Barry Lyndon. All right?
Yeah.
That's who we were working with.
Okay.
So, now, Beastmaster was not shot with a Panaflex.
Oh.
Beastmaster was shot with an Aeroflex. because by then, John Alcott had a contract with Aeroflex that he could only use an Aeroflex. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, Aeroflex is a fine camera.
Okay.
Ain't nothing wrong with The Shining, with Barry Lyndon, with Eyes Wide Shut. None of those films. They were all shot with an Aeroflex.
Now
it's not the best camera out there.
Okay, because he also did 2001, Doctor Strangelove, Clockwork Orange.
Those were all shot with Aeroflex.
Really?
Now,
okay.
Even because of the deal that Stanley Kubrick would make with the production company.
Okay.
And like I said, Aeroflex is a fine camera, no problem.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as a Panaflex, which is what we use on Phantasm.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Now that was shot then with a very good film.
Okay.
It was shot with a very good camera that had very good lens.
Okay.
Okay. So then, now when you make a movie like that, when you make a print of that, you don't do it off the negative. That negative is priceless. Okay.
Yeah.
If you scratch that negative, if you break it, whatever, while you're making a print,
You're lost.
you're screwed.
Yeah.
That movie is dead.
Wow.
So what they do is they make a counter positive.
Okay.
No, an interpositive. Then from that interpositive, they make 3 internegatives.
Okay.
And then they use those 3 negatives, those new internegatives, to make the print that you and I see in the theater.
Yeah.
So, like, if you remember Xerox, the Xerox machine.
Yeah.
What would happen if you had an original, you made a copy, then made another copy, then made another copy, and that's the copy that you said, okay.
Well, you get
you
generation
lose
loss.
quality.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So any movie you see has gone through that. You're seeing a 4th generation.
Oh, I didn't know that. Ooh. Folks, I'm sorry, but I think I lost Roberto again. I'm going to try to call him back, or maybe her call me, and we'll just pick up where we left off. In fact, I'm just going to try to dial him right now, see if I can get him back. I'm dialing Roberto Quezada right now. Hopefully, I'll be able to get him. If not, I'll just kind of, Okay, I
Are
think.
you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Roberta. I guess I lost you again. I'm sorry. I feel
What was
bad.
the last thing you heard me say? And I'll say it so you can edit it together.
Well, we're just gonna work with this, but I believe we were talking about the different film. What is it? Stanley Kubrick.
I was saying that when so any film that we see, that you and I see in the theater, is a 4th generation. Did you hear that part?
Yeah, because you take a generation loss because, like you said, It's like a Xerox copy of a Xerox copy of a Xerox copy. You're losing generations,
and that's just a process. That's just I don't care if it's Stanley, if it's Barry Lyndon or Space Odyssey, or Phantasm. You're seeing a 4th generation print. That's just the name. That's just the name of the game.
Okay.
Now, what's really great about this version of Phantasm?
Yeah.
And any movie from those days any movie even made today, if it's shot on film, what they're doing is they're scanning the original. They're scanning the negative.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting, when the film that you saw is something that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah.
Because it's off the negative. It's off the original. It's a 4K scan, frame by frame, off the original negative.
Now
it's not going through the inner negative or the inner positive method, because it's a digital
copy. It's
a digital version now, and that's why that Phantasm 1 looks better than it has ever looked.
I remember you
mentioned not all movies that get made digitally go off the original negative.
Yeah,
the way we have. But Don takes really good care of all the elements. Okay, so J.J. Abrams' company was able to get an incredible scan off of an incredible negative. But not only that, they remastered the sound as well.
Oh,
now, these are the people that got the Academy Award for Star Wars.
Oh,
so they would work on Star Wars in the daytime, and then they would work on Phantasm at night.
Now, this is the original one you're talking about, too.
Pardon me?
The people who worked on Phantasm with you that worked on Star Wars were, like, that was on Phantasm 1 then, I guess.
Yes, but then the remastering of it...
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You're basically redoing the sound. You're remastering the music and all that. These are editors that are the finest editors working.
Okay.
Or who remastered the sound that
now
Phantasm.
the people who Yeah, well, I mean, the people who remastered the sound in your film was because you actually worked with really good equipment or higher quality film, probably even sound, that when they came back to restore it, they had something to work with, I guess, so to speak.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Because I mean,
they had. I mean, Phantasm is a well crafted film.
Yeah,
in that respect, even though it was very low budget.
Yeah,
Don really knows what he's doing. Yeah, so they had really good source material to work with when they were remastering. But not all films, simply because they've been remastered, look good.
That's what I was going to say.
If the people doing the remastering try to do it quickly,
yeah,
to save money,
yeah,
or they're not, or they don't know what they're doing,
yeah,
you're going to get films that are overexposed and it's and that's what the point I'm trying to make is that these people they got the Academy Award for Star Wars. Know what they're doing, and they took their time. They didn't rush through this thing. It would have cost Don hundreds of thousands of dollars. To get this film remastered.
Well,
and we basically did it on when J.J. Abrams' crew had a few minutes left over at the end of each day. They would work. They a few minutes. Let's say they had an hour left to go, and they had knocked off early. They'd do a little bit on Phantasm. Don had to pay for it, but he certainly didn't pay what it would have cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you actually bring up an interest. Now, when you're talking about Star Wars, I might have misunderstood. You mean like probably the one that J.J. Abrams worked on, the recent one, or the same guys who restored your film for you or remastered it in 4K?
That's why I'm saying people are who ones that did Star.
Yeah. Oops, I think I'm losing you. Folks, I'm sorry I lost Roberto again. I'm going to try to call him back and have him start with the Star Wars thing. So let me call him right now. I'm going to give him a call. Apologize about that. Roberto, I feel so bad, but I'm going to give you a call back. Just hit it bad. He is calling actually from California on his cell phone, and I think he said at one point he was actually driving. So let me give him a call back. Hopefully I'll pick him up. I do appreciate him doing this. I'm calling him right now. I might just get his answer machine, so if that's the case, I'll give it a few minutes and I'll pause it.
Hello?
Yeah, Roberto, I'm sorry. I guess bad cell phone spot. Last thing.
No problem.
The last thing we were talking about was the Star Wars thing. I asked you, was it the Star Wars that J.J. Abrams had worked on? And I kind of lost you there on the cell phone connection.
Yeah, anytime I say Star Wars, of course I'm referring to
the new one.
Star Wars that J.J. Abrams did.
Yeah, okay, that's where I apologize. I misunderstood you on that, which I really liked that film, by the way, too. So
yeah, the remastering happened last year. It didn't happen when the original Star Wars.
Okay, so Bad Robot, I guess, is his production company that worked on your film, which actually brings a point up. Like, you influenced, I guess, quite a few people who've went on to become directors or producers themselves. You influenced them from your film work.
Well, influencing might be a bit of a strong word. Let's say that the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Roger Avery.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi.
Yes. Yeah.
Couple of other Japanese horror film directors.
Mm-hmm.
And J.J. Abrams. Okay, the list I just made.
Yeah.
Those guys were all about 12 years old when they saw Phantasm.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, it stayed with them. They are fans from when they were 12.
Yeah.
I would, obviously it would be nicer if I made a movie last year that all those guys thought was like one of the greatest things they'd ever seen. That would be a compliment.
Well, I think it's cool that.
But I'm flattered that. But the whole reason that Phantasm 1 still is relevant, the reason that J.J. Abrams wanted to remaster it, is that it had a powerful effect on a whole generation of young men.
Oh, of course.
At a time in their lives when, they might have been pretty insecure for whatever reason. And there's a lot of elements in Phantasm 1 that have nothing to do with horror, that have nothing to do with special effects. It has to do with the special relationship between this young boy, Mike.
Yes.
That is alone, whose parents have died, whose brother is leaving him, but then Reggie and then I don't want to give anything away in the film for people that haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But it resonated with this generation of boys who then grew up. Some of whom grew up to be filmmakers. That's
true. Well,
and so in that sense, I am flattered and I am complimented. But on those things because Phantasm stayed with people for so many years after that. Don and I are astounded. You saw the people at the screening.
Oh yeah, I did. I did. That younger
This is a movie that was made 37 years ago.
Yeah.
Let me put it in perspective for you.
Okay.
When I went to film school in 1975.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, which is when we made Phantasm.
So
okay, if we were to compare the same ratio, we'd be talking about a movie. We'd be talking about a silent film.
Oh.
In 1975, if you go back 40 years,
you're
talking. That means that we'd be talking about silent movies.
That's actually
okay.
Yeah.
So Phantasm is to movies today what movies from when Don and I were in college.
Yeah.
Were silent.
Okay, because actually you did bring up an interesting point, because I've been actually going through some. Now, for me, it's like I do love horror. I've been going through the classic horror movies, like right now, The Mummy, Frankenstein, the ones from Universal, and I love those films. But what was your influence that how you?
We weren't horror. We were not horror film fans. We were not horror filmmakers.
Really?
Don had made a movie about an alcoholic father.
Okay.
And a high school football player that's trying to hold the whole family together because his dad gets drunk.
Okay.
Now that father, the actor that played the drunk father, is none other than the tall man, Angus Grimm. That's where Don first met Angus.
Wow.
Okay. Then he made a movie called The Kenny and Company, which is kind of it's comparable to The Bad News Bears. And in fact, 20th Century Fox bought that movie after Don made it and proceeded to bury it so that it wouldn't compete with The Bad News Bears. It's a very good movie.
That's funny. Yeah.
Then Don made Phantasm. Okay. So what it is that, and that's the other thing that makes Phantasm so unique. I don't know if you noticed, but when have you seen a horror film where they stop the action cold for these two guys to play a guitar?
Yeah.
Play in the middle of it. Or this relationship between these brothers, or the relationship with Reggie.
Yeah.
You've never seen a horror film like that ever since or before.
No.
Now, if you look at the movies that came out in 1970, in the 70s, I defy to find one that is original to Phantasm. And certainly not a horror film. There are no horror films that are anything like Phantasm.
Yeah, you're right. Because, well, the ones at that time would be Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All fine movies. All very good movies. But they are more traditional kind of slasher films.
Well, that's true. And Friday the 13th, yeah.
You know, nothing that is dealing with dreams. Okay?
Yeah.
This is the first film where a dream is so intense that it breaks through into this realm.
That's true. And
no one had ever done that.
Well, that's true.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. But actually, when you mentioned Dream, because I remember you mentioned this, that actually it was Wes Craven who came up to you and mentioned, hey, I ripped you off on Phantasm.
Jokingly.
I mean, but he kind of did.
Everyone rips everybody off.
No, I know.
It's actually it's called you're doing an homage.
Yeah.
You know, Tarantino films are full of homages.
Yeah.
You know,
true.
so but essentially that's what gave him the idea to do Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, and yeah.
If you recall, Nightmare on Elm Street, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just funny because
everyone has their own twist to it. With his movies, the twist is that you know it's a nightmare throughout.
Yeah.
With Phantasm, you don't know it's a nightmare until it's over.
Well, you're right.
Then it's not quite over until that nightmare comes crashing through the mirror.
Well, that's true.
And that's what sets up Phantasm 2.
It actually
it's a pretty remarkable movie. You know, if I do say so myself.
No, it actually is. It actually is. It actually kind of reminds me of some other film. God, I can't remember the name, where these Martians come down and this kid, it's all a nightmare, and then it actually comes true. I can't remember the name of the film, though. It's very similar.
Now, Don did have films, you know, horror films like that were in his past. And in fact, if anything, I've never read the book. It's a Ray Bradbury novel called. What's the title of it? You know it? Something Terrible Comes or something like that?
Something Wicked This Way Comes. Is it that one?
Pardon me?
Something Wicked This Way Comes?
Yes.
That's a great film.
Yes, and that was a big influence to get Phantasm started. You know, so like I said, everybody rips somebody off.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you and again, I don't mean ripping off. It's just, I'm just using that term, you know, to be funny. But But now, if you recall in Pulp Fiction, the scene where Bruce Willis has been held hostage in that basement, and violated.
Yeah,
you recall that?
It sounds
And when he comes upstairs and he's trying to find a weapon to go back down to kill the guy that violated.
Yeah.
When he's searching for the right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
That is Roger Avery. That was who wrote Pulp Fiction. He said that was Quentin's homage to Phantasm. Phantasm 2.
Oh, okay. Now it makes me want to go back and recheck this out now, because now in Phantasm 2, you'll see that there's a crematorium scene. Okay.
Where the body has just been cremated.
Yeah.
Coming out, and the guy's crushing the last few bones. He's crushing them with a hammer. Put them in a drawer. Okay, which is the person's ashes.
Yeah.
And as he closes it, if you do you recall what the name on whose body that is that was just cremated?
No, I'll have to go back and check that part closely. But what is it?
It's Sam Raimi.
Okay, I'm definitely going to check that out now. That is so cool. I didn't realize that. That's like certain things.
Like when the ashes go into the drawer.
Yeah.
Look at the name on the drawer.
That is too funny.
Sam Raimi.
Wow.
Now we also use Sam Raimi's production design.
Oh.
On Phantasm 2. Okay, he was the guy that did
Evil Dead,
Army of Darkness.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was fresh off of that, and we use them on Phantasm II.
Oh.
So yeah, there's a lot of borrowing that goes on.
Nothing wrong with that, though.
It's a small business. There's no way you could make a movie.
Yeah.
Completely in a vacuum.
No. Well, you definitely networked with a lot of, yourself too, but you guys are really well known for what you've done film work wise.
Yeah.
Now, somebody actually, they got you from, you kind of left the film work, you were doing more, I guess, photography, so to speak, but now you're doing film work again, I guess, or something, or helping out on a film?
Not really. I'm a photographer now.
You're still
doing. But I still consult.
Okay.
I still consult for various people. It's usually, someone that's developing a project or ask me to look at a script or something like that. It's,
But
if I'm visiting LA when Don is shooting something, I actually worked a weekend on Ravager.
Okay.
I gaffed it. I think he very generously gave me an additional gaffing. I think he gave me a gaffer credit on it, as if I gaffed the whole movie.
Yeah.
But Ravager 5, Phantasm 5 was gaffed by Don Coscarelli.
Wow. Now
he produced it and he gaffed it.
Okay.
Someone else directed.
Oh.
He wrote it with the director.
Okay.
And then he produced it and then he gaffed it.
Oh.
And that's something that he and I always used to joke about. That would be the best possible job you could have. Would be the producer - gaffer on a movie.
Now gaffer. What exactly is a gaffer? Now
a gaffer does the lighting.
Oh, okay, yeah, because lighting's very important. So
Don did the lighting on Phantasm 2. I mean on Phantasm 5.
5, yeah. Well, that's important because if you don't have it lit right, obviously the film's not going to look. It's not going to look good.
Well, it's a question of interpretation. I always like to say there's a difference between illumination and lighting.
Yeah.
Illumination means that there's enough light to get a properly exposed picture.
Okay.
But that isn't lighting. Lighting means that you put a lot of thought into, the direction of the light, the quality of the light, how much light, how bright, how dark, how contrast, all those things, which are very difficult to do when you don't have Photoshop.
Yeah.
You got to get it right in the camera.
Well,
that's when you're shooting on film. Now, if you're shooting digital, you got a little more leeway.
Okay.
But you still have to. It has to be lit.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what the reason I was able to work with Don is that he knows lighting. He knew what he wanted. You have to know what to ask for.
Yeah. Well, that's
and your best directors know what to ask of their technicians.
That's true. Well, I mean, if it's overlit, it's going to be oversaturated. If it's underlit, it's going to look too dark.
All those things.
Yeah.
So the look of the film, even though Don didn't direct it, he had a lot to do with the look of it.
Okay.
He had a lot to do. As a producer, you have a lot of input for the look of the film, for the special effects, all those things were very. Don was a producer, was a completely hands-on producer, much more hands-on than I was when I produced.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but you had your fair shake or whatever making that film, though.
Well, I had a huge budget on Phantasm.
Yeah.
That had to, that, like I said before, that's a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
So Ravager was shot more like Phantasm 1, but it was shot on weekends.
Oh, it was
Only
shot.
They took like 3 or 4 years to shoot it.
I didn't know that. Now, when's Ravager?
You see?
Yeah.
Ravager is the last one. Phantasm 5.
Now, that's not out yet, I don't think. Today,
excellent movie. I just saw it in New York last week with Don.
Oh, so it is
Excellent
out.
movie.
Okay, so it is theatrically been released then in theaters now. Because it's
Pardon me?
It has been. I have to look when what films are out, but is that out? Like I could actually see that in the movie theater then right now.
No, it had a
Oh,
well, no, it might be playing in some movie theaters, but it was
select theaters
released
kind of thing.
all at once. It had a multi-theater release, and then you download it off iTunes now if you want to watch it.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna definitely put it on my list, because I do get some films I rent it on iTunes.
But it opened in a bunch of theaters across the country, and then as a download, that's how the movies are done now. They download it, see it.
Okay, well,
and then, but a couple of days later, it became available on iTunes.
Okay, yeah,
that's the way it was designed to be done.
Okay, well, I mean, like probably around us, our neck of the woods, when you're in the East Coast, would be probably like down Philadelphia at what do you call it? The small movie houses that show those kind of films.
Yeah. Well, we're talking to. I mean, they're talking on. Like right now, I'm on my way up to Eureka, California.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that Phantasm Remastered, they wanted to have their own premiere of it up there.
Okay.
So I'm going up there to present it and do the Q&A and all that. That's Friday night.
Oh, wow.
If you've got any listeners near Eureka, California,
yeah,
that's where we're going to be.
That's cool.
Do you think this will podcast before? Will this podcast before Friday?
Yeah, it definitely will, because I'll work on a little bit tonight. There's actually not too much that I really edit. I think I did a pretty good job. There was, the phone drops, but they weren't that bad. That was
okay.
So I think it kind of went pretty smoothly with that.
Well, I just want to plug. I would want to plug that for, like I said, anyone that missed it.
Yeah.
And wants to see it, and if you're near Eureka, which is about 5 hours north of San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's at the Eureka Theater, and that's where I'm going right now.
Oh, okay. But it's not tonight. It's going to be on Friday, even actually.
It'll be Friday night.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually pretty cool. I personally, I like to even see Phantasm on the big screen. It's something like, it's cool to see a film at home on your TV set, but it's not the same as actually seeing it on a projected screen.
No.
Yeah.
It's not the same as seeing it, like I said, something remastered by people that really are good at it.
Oh, yeah.
And who had an unlimited schedule and budget to do it. It is such a treat.
Oh.
It's such a treat. Now, Phantasm 2 will probably be playing at the Colonial before too long. And then I think they'll probably skip over to Phantasm 5 after that.
Well, hey, they played at Colonial.
You and I have a date when it happens, all right?
Yeah, that would be really cool. You know what? I actually want to interject a question going back to Phantasm 1, because I remember you mentioning this at the Colonial Theater, and I think somebody asked her, or did you bring this up, with the little people, the people that were supposed to be crushed in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I never...
Yeah,
until
that was always ridiculous.
No, actually...
what we did for that.
Yeah, but I didn't... I think you pointed it out, or somebody asked, because it looked very similar to in Star Wars with the little people.
Oh, well, that was a disaster, or you thought it was at the time. But we shot
at the same time.
We started shooting Phantasm.
Yeah, long
before Star Wars was released, the first Star Wars.
Yes. They did.
So we had already established these little creatures in the brown hooded robe.
Yeah.
And then Peppermint got wind of the fact he thought he heard that Star Wars was going to have these little short brown hooded creatures in it.
Yeah.
Which completely freaked us all out. We said, "Oh shit, what are we going to do? We're going to have to reshoot it. Everyone's going to think we stole it from Star Wars now." And Star Wars came, but Don made the decision. He said, "Nah, you know what? We've already done it. We're not." It was an original idea that Don had. It probably was, and then if that idea probably came from something else anyway.
Yeah,
which is very cool. Which is probably the same place that Lucas got it.
Yeah.
So no, we left it, and no, we never got criticized for it. No one ever accused us of ripping off, of paying an homage to Star Wars.
Well, honestly, yours actually creeped me out. That was really scary when the one actor, you actually see his face. That's actually a person was crushed. Star Wars did not bother me. Even though they looked very similar, yours was definitely more nightmarish.
They were slightly different. We were using actual little people. And
I remember you saying
I don't think they were actually little people doing the Star Wars, or were they?
I think those were little people, too. I'm pretty sure they were.
Oh, they were?
I think
okay.
so. I'm pretty sure they were. But yours were just, the whole concept was definitely different, you know.
Yeah.
They were more nightmarish-like, so to speak, but it was pretty creepy.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to hold you up for a long time. I appreciate you actually gave me a really good interview so far, or, you know, give me a good interview, period. But I know I asked this a little bit, but like your influences, what influenced you to get not even just into film, like or how to be something you growing up as a kid that like kind of like movies?
Well, the funny thing with that is that when I was a philosophy major.
Oh.
In college, yeah, and getting ready to become a theology major. And during the quarter break, I didn't go home. I stayed up there. I was at Santa Clara University.
Okay.
I went and saw a movie called Space Odyssey. Which I had I may have seen it because the movie I was going to see, I was late for.
Yeah.
So I went and saw this other thing that I'd never heard about.
Yeah.
And it proceeded to completely blow my mind. It had never occurred to me that you could actually work with philosophical and theological issues in a movie. And the very next day I went and I changed my major to film. I had to be making movies after that.
So Odyssey. Sorry.
Pardon me?
So Space Odyssey was the film that actually did it for you, though.
That was the film.
Yeah.
Space Odyssey. Odyssey. Now, coincidentally enough, at the same time, only 500 miles south of where it happened to me, Don Coscarelli was watching Space Odyssey for the first time ever, and it changed his life.
Wow, so, that is a great film.
So he and I both coincidentally feel that that's the best film ever made.
Actually, visually, yeah, definitely it was. I remember in high school I had to read the book.
For me, it's on every level. The fact that you could be dealing with these very deep issues.
Oh yeah,
like what makes us human. Like what is eternity? What is God?
That's
what is the missing link between apes and man?
That's true.
And then have something that visual, that compelling.
Yeah.
He if you think about it, what the writer, because Kubrick didn't write the movie, it's Stanley Clark, not Stanley Clark, Arthur Clark. They're dealing with artificial intelligence before who the hell even knew or had even heard of the word artificial intelligence. It's HAL. And he is so intelligent that he has a nervous breakdown. That's how intelligent that is. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely. It's a brilliant. Well, it's a Stanley Kubrick film. Don and I also believe that Kubrick is the greatest filmmaker that ever been.
He is actually. He's made a lot of really good films.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's what got me into film.
That is actually a good choice of films, too. I do like Space Odyssey. I remember I had to read it for school. I did like the part where the monolith actually pushes man to actually use tools, I guess, so to speak, and things. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and it's present at that moment. It awakens their. It takes them. And to me, I mean, everyone has their own interpretation. But to me, that was the first consciousness of God. And now I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in God, but I believe that. But obviously, we're a part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
And in Space Odyssey, in that scene, I call it God for shorthand.
Yeah.
That's when H first realized that they have a place in the universe.
Okay.
And that there's something greater than them. And shortly after that is when they discovered tools.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing was incredible. Yeah. Yeah, actually,
but it's also the thing that keeps pulling man further and further out into space. So to me, what you can define as God is the unknown.
Yeah.
And that black monolith is the unknown.
That's true. Well, I didn't quite understand the monolith, but it was definitely intriguing. But supposedly it was from a higher power or God or something, I guess, who put it there.
Yeah, different people could, someone else might say that, God put it there. Yeah, it all comes back to your relative belief, what that is.
Oh, yeah. Actually, it was funny you mentioned that because I was this is no joke, Roberto. I was actually thinking of that film the other day because I don't know if you ever heard of the film or watched this film called Event Horizon, which is kind of a little bit similar to that, but instead
which one?
Event Horizon. It's actually, God, what year did that come out? 1997. But it's a little bit like with that same thing, but instead of reaching out to God, it's a ship that actually goes and finds like hell. Like hell actually exists in the universe. Somewhere out in the universe. Wow. Yeah, it's a very intriguing film, but so it was a little bit of a different concept. Instead of like finding God or God, or whatever you would believe in, taking the next step. Event Horizon, actually, this ship goes through hell and out again, and basically...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty weird, because but the thing that...
Great premise.
Yeah.
Is it literally hell?
Well, when the ship comes from one side, like it disappears and comes back out, like it goes through some type of dimension. The dimension it went into was actually hell itself. So
wow.
It's kind of almost in the same line, but instead of like more of a heavenly feel, this movie is very dark, very, very dark.
Yeah. But what's neat about Space Odyssey, though, is that they don't say it's God.
They don't.
They leave it open to interpretation.
That's true.
So that my mother watching would say, "Oh, that's God." Me watching it say, "Well, there is no God, but there is an unknown." Someone else watching it say, "No, that was placed there by God."
Well, actually,
since they don't tell you what it is, it allows you to make your own unique
decision or interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of neat in that way. The thing with if anything, that would be what it would influence Don in Phantasm. Is he and Paul, they wanted to keep it as vague as possible.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing, for me, with art is the more you've got to find it's a fine balance between completely nonsensical,
yeah,
and sensical.
Yeah,
it's a fine balance, so that if you can strike that balance where it's just vague enough, to where people have to fill in the blanks, but fill them in such a way that they are certain that's what it means.
Okay,
and we'll argue with someone else over it. Then I think you've got something.
Yeah, well, leave some more up for the viewer. Leave it up to their imagination to fill in what they wanted to. Oh,
exactly,
yeah.
And that's what Don and Paul were trying to do with Phantasm.
I think
keep the audience just off balance enough to where just where you think you're figuring it out.
Yeah.
No, then why did it do that? But still keep their interest. No one's throwing up their hands going, "Oh, this is stupid. It makes no sense." No, it's like, wow, this is mysterious. I know it means something.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to stick around to the end to figure it out.
Well, that's true. That actually, when I was even watching the other day when you were at the Colonial, I still had kind of questioned how the film. I wasn't sure if you were actually was the nightmare over or it just began kind of feel, which obviously it takes. It had sequels, but
that's the issue that continues, throughout all the sequels, I guess.
Well, I think even actually when Roberto, when I took English Lit courses, a well-written novel basically does not have an end. Like, it's opened, like the story. That's a good story when it has basically...
Exactly.
Yeah, at least...
That's what I love about short stories.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
The ending is kind of left up to the reader's imagination.
Yeah, but most good stories are like that, short stories and regular stories.
And I think that's what Phantasm does.
Actually, I agree.
I mean, I love hearing people argue about what it means at the end. And everyone, there is no valid, not even Don will tell you what it means.
Well, that's what's...
When you see Ravager 5, that purports to give you an ending.
Oh.
But it does that. But it gives you a very clever Phantasm 1 ending.
That part's not bad. Now, the only thing is, depending, because it's hard to tell, it's still kind of a new film. If it does well on ticket sales or even like rental sales, could there be possibly a sixth one maybe? Or is this going to be like he's done with it?
It's been very well received. The audience that I saw with loved it.
Okay.
And stayed for the Q&A went on for over an hour.
That is very impressive.
And it was completely sold out.
Wow.
So but it was Manhattan. You got the density there to do that.
Yeah.
But it was very well received, and it tends to be. By the way, it was a midnight screen.
Yeah, that makes it fun.
To sell out at a midnight screen, you're getting your heart for it. That's not people that just went shopping and decided to go see what was playing.
Well, that's true.
Well,
actually,
so they knew what they were getting in for.
Yeah, which was entertainment. Now the thing is, though, I just almost didn't think about this. They really couldn't make a sixth one because the main character is deceased now, the actor.
Yeah, I would recommend anyone listening, they should look at the trailer for Ravager.
Okay.
For Phantasm Ravager. It built into the trailer is a very short, small homage to Angus Grimm.
Angus, yeah.
Who passed away this year.
Yeah, that's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that.
There's a couple of nice homages to him, memorials to him, actually, on YouTube. You can just Google them, and there's some really neat ones.
Yeah, I'm going to look at those then. I'm actually going to look on YouTube. Not YouTube, but iTunes, to make sure I rent this movie or buy the new one, so I'll have it on my midst of films. And I'm going to have to...
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, have you seen... which Phantasms have you seen?
Honestly, I'm pretty sure I saw all of them. It's been a while, because I've obviously seen them when they were first, like, pretty new. So, honestly, I think I did see them all. And I distinctly...
I'll tell you, there's something really funny out there.
What?
And I hope they show it with the download. But the director of Ravager, he made about a 3-minute black and white,
I like black,
really funny video that brings you up to speed.
Oh,
but it's done very well. Yeah, I really like that. So try to see that first, and then see Ravager.
Okay, yeah, I'll look for that too. Now, sometimes on iTunes they will give you this the extra stuff. I hope. Like that what you're mentioning now. So
I'm sure they do, because it's for the benefit of people that have. I mean, it's been a long time since there was a Phantasm.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm looking now. Actually, see, now you said it is on iTunes. I can rent a new one, or on iTunes.
You download it, yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't see it unless it was like sometimes what iTunes will do. They'll only release it for a small period of time.
Oh.
Yeah, because I don't see it right now. I put Phantasm in. Now I know the remaster.
Put Ravager in.
Ravager. Maybe I'll have to do that. So it's not like actually titled. Well, it has Phantasm, but Ravager. Make sure I spell that right.
Or maybe if you put in Coscarelli's name, do it by name, do a search by name.
Could do that too. Because I know, like, a friend actually saw like your remastered version. I thought he saw it on Sci-Fi or something. They were showing it on TV.
Yes, it was on Sci-Fi. They do everything happened the same week. Sci-Fi, 200 screens, and then iTunes all happened.
Wow.
Within a week of each other.
Yeah. Here we go. I see it now. Ravager. Well, at least let's see. I got it on my Google search because I definitely want to check this out. But let me see it on, because sometimes they do. They're running for a limit. Yeah. No, it's not coming up. Let me check the store.
But the bootleg came up already?
No. Oh, no. Don't say bootleg. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm sorry. I see Phantasm Ravager movies. So, and here we go. For folks who want to...
on iTunes?
You can get it actually on iTunes, yes. And if I want to buy it, which I think I will, $14.99 for HD copy, which is not bad. Or if people want to rent, yeah, that's not bad at all. If they want to rent it,
do you get it on a? Does it come on a disc?
No, but if you have like Apple TV or your other devices that get iTunes, you can get it that way. And they actually,
cool.
It's the same. Like basically, when you do get it, it's the same as getting the disc. Because I guess, what is it? Steve Jobs seen in the future that people will basically not buy discs. You can get everything through pretty much like online or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Did you ever see the Phantasm 2 that was just put out about 3 years ago? 2-3 years ago?
No, I'm gonna have to check it. So I saw those like Phantasm 2 and everything. I saw that when I was like, out there. I know one of them I actually did see in the theaters. I can't remember which one now, but I did remember distinctly seeing one of them in the movie theaters.
The Blu-ray for Phantasm 2 has a really great making of feature on the back.
Okay.
So if you'd like
out.
to see that, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I definitely will do that. Because I do try to buy certain discs. I will put that on my list because it's been a while. I
got it on Amazon.
Oh, you got it on Amazon? Okay, yeah, I love Amazon. I got a Prime account, so I will do that.
Yeah, get the latest. I don't mean to download. I actually bought the
disc. Yeah,
and that had the added the bonus features on it.
Yeah, I'll check. I'm gonna definitely check that out. And let's see.
All right.
Yeah. So, we can rate now the new film of Phantasm. People can they can rent it on iTunes, probably even on Amazon if they wanted to. I'm sure, or buy it for $15. It's not bad. This buy the stream, the digital copy, which is not bad at all. I'm going to put in actually You got me curious now, Roberto. I'm going to see about this Phantasm 2 one. It's just on Blu-ray.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, Phantasm 2. Well,
all right.
Yeah,
so when do you think this will be on?
I will try to put this on ASAP. I'm just going to check it out and tweak it. And I will send you the link. I'll try not to cut.
My mom is sitting here, and she's only heard half the interview. So
okay, no, she'll definitely get to hear.
Be able to listen to it.
Well, hopefully you're pleased with it because I'm really happy. I'm glad you actually let me do the interview. For folks who actually want to buy Phantasm 2 on Blu-ray, they can buy it for $18.99 on Amazon. That's not bad at all. Got all those extras.
Right.
So yeah, or you can actually get on Amazon Video for $3.99 or $7.99 would be rent or buy, but you won't have the physical disc that way. So unfortunate. But
you have a good time with the making of it. You've already seen it. It's a pretty good thing on the back. They interview everybody on it.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah,
it's great.
Well, I'm a big fan. I grew up I'm a big horror fan too, but Phantasm is in that mix of films. So.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, Roberta, I have to put this out. There is on Facebook. There is a woman who has her son is, he can't take care of himself, and he's a big horror fanatic, so I actually friended him for that fact. And one of his biggest things, believe it or not, is Nightmare on Elm Street. Is like, well, Nightmare on Elm Street was actually influenced by Roberto's, Phantasm. I really want to tell them that. It's like, and I think and I think this guy is actually a big fan of Phantasm because he's likes all these creatures or horror films.
Oh, sure.
So
there you go.
Yeah, which is really cool. So it's been around. I'm gonna wind this up, but I guess so. Phantasm universe has been around for, you said, around 35, 37 years now, I guess.
37 years, yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's unbelievable.
40 if you count when they split. Actually, they started making it. 37 since it was released.
Yeah,
37, 38, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, because I remember watching it. My dad, actually, I mentioned this to you before, he actually saw it on late night TV when they would actually show, certain films, and that was one of them, and I remember him just going off about Phantasm and the steel ball. My God. And it was like, I didn't think this man was into horror movies, but he definitely liked that one. That stuck out in his mind.
Yeah, because I've always even had a hard time calling it a horror film. It's so weird. I mean, it's got science fiction. It's got it's got the relationship with the kids in it. I don't know. It's just at the end of the day, it's a horror film, but it's a different one.
It's a different one. It's a surreal type kind of film, if I could use that word. And by the way, I'm gonna definitely check out your other film of The Unseen, because I looked at your list of films. I know you made other films too. I'm just a big horror buff. I know. I do watch other films still, believe it or not, but horror.
Well, watch Pastime. I think you really like that one.
Okay, Pastimer as well. Okay.
Yeah, Pastime is that
Pastime.
one. I was the assistant director on that one, and that one, like I mentioned, that one got the Audience Award at Sundance.
Okay, yes, I remember you mentioned it earlier. So that sounds really cool.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely. I have your list of films on Wikipedia, I think, so I'm going to definitely stick those out, highlight those out of the two, and check the other ones out.
All right.
Well, Roberto,
okay.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. Believe it or not, it's been almost an hour and a half. I'm not going to actually try to cut to things. I'm afraid I'll ruin it. And I think I did a pretty good job. I really appreciate you sticking in there with me, and
no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a pleasure meeting you, Walter.
No.
I'm a fan of I, Walter now. So.
I hope so. I mean, some of the stuff I talk about is a little bit off the wall, but it's just whatever's on my mind at the time.
It's very cool.
Yeah, but hey, I'm a big fan of Roberto and your stuff, and I want to check out your other stuff now, your other films. In addition to the horror, in addition to the horror, I mean. So, Roberto.
All right. Well, my turn off is coming up here, so
okay.
I'll sign off. But thank you very much, Walter.
Roberto,
take care.
You too. Thank you so much for doing this interview. You made my night, my life, because I actually got somebody of interest.
Well, we enjoyed it here too in the car.
Okay, well that's good, and I will definitely.
Have a nice quiet audience in here.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much, Roberto, and thank you your mom too for
you're welcome
being there. Alrighty, folks.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Roberto, and
bye.
Bye. Okay, folks, that was Roberto. Oops, he just hung up on me, but that's fine because he did actually an hour and a half interview, and I actually have him in the beginning. I don't want to mess up his last name. But Roberto has done a lot of different films. The Unseen was one I'm going to actually have to check out. Let's see. Let me give you a list of his films because he was a very kind man to do that, do an interview with me. And it was Phantasm he did back in 1979. And then in 1978, which actually was prior, I don't know why they didn't put these in order of dates, was a movie called The Frozen Scream. He's done a film that he looks actually really good. It's called The Unseen. He worked on, I don't want to say, he did kind of work on, but it says for his filmography, the next film, which he did mention, folks, tonight, was The Beastmaster. That was 1982. He's also been responsible for a film called My Best Friend's Birthday, 1987. Survival Quest, he did mention on our interview tonight, that was 1989. Pastime, he had was filmed in 1990. That was a film he was involved with. That's the word I'm looking for. Then he mentioned, which I didn't understand, but it actually does sound pretty intriguing, is a film called The Gifted. That was 1999, and at least on this list, because he's actually worked on other stuff as well, Roberto has, is a film called Stars and Bars, which was in 2006. Again, I want to thank Roberto for this interview on the phone. I apologize to Roberto and his mother because there was a couple spots that my connection kind of gave out. So, but he stuck in there, and when I called him back, he was kind enough to pick up the phone, and I do appreciate that, Roberto. Thank you so much for that interview, because it's like the first official, real person that I did a full-length interview. I mean, I did one with Ryan Logston, who is a local who did a film called Agony, which I really liked, but now I actually did one with a film producer, director from who was out in California. So that was great. So thank you again, folks. I'm going to cut this short because now I'm just going to be redundant on this. And this is Walter from iWalter. I had interviewed Roberto. I'm so sorry, Roberto. I don't want to mess up your last name. I am so bad with names. So thank you so much for that interview. And again, this is Walter from iWalter. And yes, I am signing off for now.